What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the HIYA Toys 2014 Godzilla MUTO. This is the female version. I really do hope that they make the male version, because that would be really cool to see as well. But here we are taking a look at the female version of the MUTO, which is one of the sort of Godzilla villains that I've been waiting to get a figure of so I can put it on my display. And finally, HIYA went out of their way to make one, and I'm very, very happy that they did, because it doesn't look like Bandai wants to make one. So, or if they're going to, it's, you know, way past that point for me, and this is very much a very nice alternative to whatever Bandai is going to make, especially because of the price. We'll get into that later. Taking a look at the box art, very, very cool. Got some nice product shots here of the MUTO herself. More nice artwork here that is obviously replicant of the final battle scene, or some of the battle scenes in the 2014 Godzilla film. More nice product shots there, and then finally more stuff here. Very, very cool stuff. HIYA's been killing it lately. I'll tell you that right now. Even on the bottom, you see the nice Godzilla logo. But HIYA's been killing it lately. These guys know what they're doing, and they're offering very comparable figures at better prices, in my opinion. So really nice stuff here. And so without further ado, alrighty folks, here we have the HIYA Toys MUTO, the female MUTO, in well, out of her box. I was about to say in her vehicle mode, but not. This is in the Transformers review. But taking a look at her, she looks really, really nice. I think she looks fantastic. A little hair there. She looks really, really good. This nice sculpted detail and the molded in detail and the paint is really, really nice. Looks like some airbrushing or something along those lines, but just really good. So taking a look, you can see the head. Very, very cool. It is static though. We'll talk about that. The articulation doesn't really move. I mean, it goes like up and down, but doesn't really ever go side to side because, yeah, of the way that she's designed. But looks really, really good. See the nice red for the eyes there. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it right there. It looks really, really good. Got some nice molded detail, nice airbrushing. You do have some really nice gradients across her entire body. The only thing about this that I'm not the biggest fan of is how this looks, especially when you start to move it. But it looks really good. I mean, you can see that sculpted detail, and even those arms are creepy. I'll say this much. When you get this thing out of the box, it's actually kind of creepy to see the sort of ways that they designed this monster for the movie, because it's just kind of, it looks gross when you get it out of the box. Like, they did such a good job, in my opinion, with replicating what they saw on screen here, that it just looks really disgusting, right? But like I was saying, you can move it, but this part is hollow here, so you just get like this big gap, and it just looks, I don't know, there's something wrong with how that looks, and when you do this, it just doesn't look right to me. But overall, really, really nice sculpted in detail, everything like that. It just looks really good, and comparing it with the on-screen model, I'll see if I can get a good shot of it, so we'll set her off to the side here, and we'll put a picture right here of the actual MUTO, the female one. Now, the one thing I will say is the scale, I think, is fine, but I wouldn't mind her being just a tad bit bigger, and so the way we'll show that is by bringing out the G-Man himself. And so, here's the MUTO. And folks, here's the G-Man. Now, when it comes to Godzilla here, this is obviously the 2019, this is King of the Monsters, but for this figure, for the SH Monsters, they really didn't change anything when it comes to the sizing of this thing, to my knowledge. And so when you're comparing these two, when they're up like this, it does look like that she could probably be like, maybe like this, right? Maybe? Like a tad bit more, maybe like this, maybe. And that's something that I personally noticed. But when you look at the scene when Godzilla, spoilers, sorry if you go watch the movie if you haven't. At the end of the movie, when Godzilla like bites her on the neck here, he bites her like right here, and then he like rips her head open, and then atomic breaths her down her throat, and then rips her head off. You can definitely see the size difference. I do think that she could just stand to just be like this, I think. Just a teensy bit taller. But when you look at these two, they look fantastic together. I mean, this is really, really cool to have these two, like, you know, bitter enemies just squaring off like this. So overall, when it comes to the sizing, I think this thing absolutely is fine. I just think that it could stand to be just a tad bit bigger. But overall, I still think it works very, very well. And to, again, have these two is really, really nice to see. Alrighty, folks, let's get into the articulation, and it's weird, and the reason it's weird is because of the design, and I'm not going to fault HIYA for having funky articulation for this, because when it comes to this figure, I mean, this thing really doesn't have, like, it's not like a Jet Jaguar where there's, like, a lot of dynamic poses that a monster like this can do, and that's just, again, I think it's just a design choice when it comes to just how the monster is meant to look, right? And how the actual designers for the movie went about designing this. Obviously, in the movie, you can make a monster move however you want to, but obviously in the figure, it's a bit more limited. And so, even though that this thing doesn't necessarily have the best articulation, you're not really going to be putting this thing in dynamic poses to begin with. Should more likely be in the static pose. So going over it, the head just kind of goes up and down very minimally, but you do have, I think these are ball joints. These feel like ball joints or maybe like swivel ball joints. I can't tell, but you can go up and down like that. And then these also have these joints, so you can bend like this, and so you can get some cool scenes, you know, where she's punching Godzilla or something like that. These are also on ball joints, and then these bend as well. Now, the second set of arms, or legs, I don't know what you, I think these, I don't know if they're arms, I think these would be the arms, these are technically, these are the legs. So the second set of arms, you can go back and forth like this on this little swivel here, and then you can rotate as well on it, and then you also have the same bend here, and you do have the same posability here, and then you also actually, I didn't show this, you can actually bend these as well, the little claws here. Just be very careful because these are small parts, and then the joints are tight. I'll tell you that much. On my copy in particular, I don't know how other people who have this figure experience this, but this guy, excuse me, she has very tight joints. The legs can go like kind of back and forth. They can't really bend or anything like that. You do get a little bit of play here, and then you do have a little bit more play here, but it really isn't like, you don't get much out of her in terms of movement. But again, I don't really fault the figure for this in the sense that it's just an awkward thing to design. And then for the tiny arms, you have little swivels here. It's hard to see. I'm sorry about that. But then you do get ball joints. And these come off decently easy, so just be careful when you're moving them around. But they're not too bad to just peg back in, right? They're not too bad. But overall, again, I'm just gonna have her in a static pose, and I don't think that that's a bad thing, because that's kind of how she was for most of the movie. Even the moments when she's fighting Godzilla, the only dynamic poses she really had are the ones where she would like swipe at him with her or hit him with her arms here or something like that. And usually she would just body check him because she didn't really have anything else. I mean, unlike the male MUTO, which has wings, this one doesn't. And so, because it's the female version, right? So, and she's bigger, right? The male MUTO was smaller but could fly. So there's obviously the difference there. The male MUTO, if you like put them here, the male MUTO would be like this tall. His head should come right here. He's significantly smaller. But overall, yeah, articulation isn't the best, but I am also not mad about it considering the design of this monster, right? I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. The design of this monster really doesn't warrant very super dynamic articulation, especially given how many appendages this thing has. Alrighty, guys, and let's get into the accessories. There are none, and that's a little bit of a shame. And a couple things I would have liked. Because you're saying, oh, there's not really anything to give accessories for her. In my opinion, I think that's wrong. And the reason I say that is because there's two things I think could have been awesome. If we had, like, sort of like an egg sack thing, because if you remember, she used the warhead as, like, her way to, I don't know, sustain her babies, right, in their eggs. And so if we got a warhead, that's one thing, and the other thing would be actual eggs. Like, I would have liked, like, a display of, like, her, maybe not big, but it could have been maybe like this, you know, like, I don't know, like this big or something like that, of just her eggs. Would have been cool with the warhead, like, sticking out of it, or just the eggs in general. I think it would have been cool to see something like that as an accessory. And again, the warhead, I think, is absolutely doable. It would have probably been like this big, but the fact that they would have added it would have been really cool. And if they didn't want to add something that small, then just give us like an egg display, right? It would have been cool to have something like that as an accessory. Obviously would have increased the price, but at the same time, you know, it does feel bad that she doesn't have anything. She didn't really have any special abilities that would warrant like an atomic breath or something like that. One thing they could have also done, I guess, I'm thinking about it now, they could have added a separate headpiece where maybe they could have done something where, like, how do I describe it? You know how she, like, communicates with the male MUTO? Her eyes glow. So it would have been nice to have, like, a glowing eye head instead of just the very, like, flat, you know, colors for it. But what are you going to do? That's the suckiest part about this figure, in my opinion, is the lack of accessories. But overall, it's a bit of a shame. I still think they could have done stuff with that, so. Alrighty, folks, with that all out of the way, for my final and concluding thoughts on the HIYA Toys 2014 Godzilla Female MUTO, this thing is really good. I think it's really solid overall. The detail is fantastic. The paint looks really, really good. In addition, the articulation, despite not being very dynamic, doesn't really need to be. Given the design of this monster, given how she looked in the movie, given how they had to do it for the figure, I'm not really mad that she can't really be dynamic, because she really wasn't that dynamic of a creature. So I have no issues with this thing not being very dynamic. I think it's perfectly fine because I'm just going to have her like this in the display anyway. She doesn't need to have a dynamic pose. She never had any in the movie anyway. And so the worst thing about this figure is the lack of accessories. A warhead would have been nice, a display for the eggs, maybe an alternate headpiece where her eyes were glowing. That would have been pretty cool. And despite that, I still think, and I still really do like this figure, and I would recommend you pick it up, especially for, I think this is $60. So if you're looking for a nice female MUTO to display alongside any Godzilla figure that you got when it comes to the 6-7 inch scale, this is the one to get, because it's just, it scales well with Godzilla, scales well with the other monsters, obviously. I also think that it's just really nice to finally have a MUTO when Bandai hasn't bothered making one, and I really do hope that HIYA come around and make themselves a male one, because obviously with the female one, you would want the male one as well. But I wonder if they will do that. I really hope they do, so you can complete the set, right? So out of a 10, I'll give this thing like an 8, because it's really good. Just that lack of accessories really hurts it. So yeah, that's what I would give it in terms of a score. I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so I'll leave a link in the description to that if you guys want to pick this guy up, or pick her up. I actually don't know if she's still available. I'll see. I'll take a look on Amazon as well. Maybe link to the actual HIYA website, see if she's still available there as well, and see if there's any other retailers that have her that I think are reputable, and I'll link those in the description as well if you want to pick her up. In stores, I don't think it's really hard to find this in store. I don't think in the U.S. there's much distribution for this when it comes to like public stores or very easy to access common stores. Maybe in like your mom and pop's like antique store or something along those lines, where it's like they import goods and they sell them. You find those toy shops every so often. Maybe you'll find it in one of those if you get lucky. But other than that, definitely wish you the best of luck if you decide to go that route. But yeah, links in the description if you want to buy this thing. But with that all out of the way, I think that's really about it. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I will catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.